And tonight, the war on cops is far from over. A sheriff deputy was shot in North Carolina today during a traffic stop. He's currently in stable condition. The suspect is in custody. We're monitoring this story and we'll bring you any updates as they come in. This, as the most liberal cities in America continue to stand by the destructive policies. Manhattan DA Ivan Bragg is at it again as he allegedly reduced charges for a brazen career crook who robbed an innocent woman in New York City. Now, sources say that the mugger told the arresting officer, quote, "Next time I won't do it right in front of you." The criminals are actually mocking us at this point. Here now with reaction to all of this, Fraternal Order of Police National Vice President Sergeant Joe Gamaldi. Sergeant, thanks so much for joining Cross Country again. I want you to comment on the officer that was shot earlier today, but the fact that the criminals are now making fun of the entire criminal justice system, what's your reaction to that?
Well, let me start with the sergeant that was shot. My thoughts and prayers are certainly with him. And, my heart breaks for him and his family as they now have to deal with all that. But it's becoming an all too familiar pattern. We had 346 police officers shot last year. That was a record since we started tracking this. Already this year, we've had 60 police officers shot, which is a 60% increase over last year. And, I'm going to put my uniform on immediately after this and go out on patrol. But, before I do, I'm going to tell my officers, make sure you're careful out there because criminals are thinking less and less of shooting us, and they're thinking less and less of killing us because they know they're not going to be held accountable for their actions. And yet we hear from academics and so-called journalists saying, well, your job's really not that dangerous. Well, I'll tell you what, once you sit your ass next to me in that patrol car and you see if you think my job is dangerous. And as far as DA Bragg is concerned, is there someone who is more out of touch with New Yorkers than DA Bragg and his staff? A recent Quinnipiac poll said 74% of New Yorkers thought crime was a serious problem. And they're right. And the brain trust at the DA's office thinks we should go even softer on crime. And to talk about the criminal you mentioned, that guy's been arrested 46 times. 46. And he was out on parole when he did this grand larceny, and the DA's office thinks it's a bright idea to actually reduce the charge. You do not cut a deal with a repeat felon like this. And what it really tells the community and what it tells victims is, we don't give a damn about you. It certainly tells cops we don't care about the risks you're taking. And to all your viewers, if you have people, politicians in your community that aren't embracing law and order, you need to get loud, you need to talk about it, you need to hold them accountable and vote them out because the consequences are deadly.
I thought the whole point of criminal justice reform was when civil liberties were violated or when criminals had reformed their lives. But that's not what's happening in these progressive cities. These people continue. They have rap sheets longer than CVS receipts. So it's very sad what's happening in the country. But I want you to I want to get your reaction to this. This is the wife of an Albuquerque cop that had some fired up rhetoric for those leaders that aren't doing anything about this. Watch.
Steadily gotten worse over the last 2 years, and it's because of the politics. It's the choices that they've made to throw our officers away.
What's your reaction, Sergeant?
I'll tell you, it's heartbreaking to hear her talk about it, but that's what we need. We need every American in this country to stand up and fight against these woke policies because we know they're an unmitigated disaster. Just in Albuquerque alone, they were one of 16 American cities who experienced their highest murder rate on record. On record. And yet they continue to move forward with these policies, and it's killing our communities. It's not hyperbole to say we're fighting for the very soul of our country right now. And you know what the worst part is? You're not doing the criminals a favor either. No. Because maybe, just maybe, if we were hard on them, much like you were talking about earlier on the homeless situation, if we took a hard line with some of these folks, maybe they would actually straighten up. Maybe actually we would get them on the right path. But you saw from the career criminal, well, hopefully next time nobody will see me do it and I'll get away with it. And that's the attitude, and it needs to stop.
Sergeant, until these folks hit rock bottom, they're not going to change their lives. As someone that first job was in a juvenile court, I'm telling you, I know it to be true. Thanks so much for your service, Sergeant.